A man's legacy defined by his ability to work through the struggles of life and ultimately come out on top. Arthur Robert Ashe Jr. was an African American tennis champion, civil rights activist, humanitarian, and an advocate for AIDS awareness. Ashe, while not well known by many, is still a very underrated American. If more people knew what Ashe truly did for America, he would be much more popular. Nonetheless, the people that do know of him consider him a very impactful American. Ashe was impactful enough to be put among other great and not so great Americans who have all had a significant contribution to U.S. history. Arthur Ashe found himself involved in many large and impactful events of U.S. history. In the beginning of his life, he found difficulties in growing up in a racist South. His ability to conquer racism against him would come in handy in his pro tennis career a few years down the road. Ashe started his career with the U.S. team in the Davis Cup, eventually moving on to Grand Slam tournaments in both singles and doubles. Ashe, to this day, is the only African American to win the U.S. Open and Wimbledon singles titles. Throughout his tennis career, especially early on, Ashe dealt with racism from the fans, his opponents, and the line judges he encountered. In some matches, Ashe would lose because he was cheated, but he wouldn't let it get to him, and he would keep striving forward. During his career, he worked for civil rights in the U.S. and South Africa, though one of his greatest accomplishments as an American was his paving of the way for other black athletes to follow along in his footsteps, just as Jackie Robinson and Muhammad Ali had done just before him. Besides his accomplishments on the court, Ashe had a large impact on other things like the civil rights movements of the U.S. and South Africa. Ashe advocated for racial equality across the globe. He had a large part in implementing civil rights in South Africa, which helped grow his popularity back in America. After his tennis career, he continued to do his passion of tennis by teaching young kids. He also wrote a book called A Hard Road to Glory, which was a 3-volume book about the slow process black athletes took to gain full participation and recognition in American sports. A few years after his tennis career, Ashe was notified that he received AIDS from a blood transfusion after a quadruple bypass surgery due to clogged arteries. For a while, Ashe kept the news of his acquired illness low and did not tell the public. When Ashe did end up announcing his acquired illness to the public, he took a more positive approach by using his illness as a way to promote AIDS awareness. He held many speeches about AIDS which promoted safe sex and awareness when getting transfusions. He fought for as long as possible, but ended up passing away from AIDS-related pneumonia in 1993 at the age of 49. Many found it sad that such a wonderful person like Ashe would die of such a terrible disease like AIDS. Though Ashe lived a short life, he left a legacy in America that would last forever. Today, the center court at the U.S. Open is named after Arthur Ashe, who was the first singles champion of the first annual U.S. Open tournament. Also, the Courage Award of ESPN's ESPY Awards is named after Arthur Ashe and the courage he demonstrated throughout his tennis career. Looking back on Ashe's life, many agree that the variety and uniqueness of what he did throughout his life give him the right to be known as someone who impacted U.S. history. Ashe was a true fighter and always looked on the bright side and never let the struggles of life get to him. Ashe's ability to persevere is let alone enough to punch his ticket to the Hall of Fame, where many other men and women of history similar to Ashe reside right now. Thank you.